Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to have a look at this tweet from Daniel Andrews last night. It says, "The current list of exposure sites shows that we're a real social bunch, and definitely a state that loves our sport, which makes sense for the sporting capital of the nation." It goes on to say, "So it's no surprise that we're seeing exposure sites where people have been having a bite, traveling to and from games, and at watch parties all over the last week or so." Now, there's a few more tweets after that he's added where he's put the exposure sites and all this kind of stuff. What's going on, right? What's going on here? And I think what's happening is he's trying to shift the narrative because it's all falling apart around him. If you've been paying attention over the last few months at these press conferences and listening to the justification for some of the health advice, particularly around families and private gatherings, you would have heard them say on multiple times the reason that we can't let you have a gathering at home, the reason why we can't let you have a private function with more than a set number of people, is because the home is the most dangerous place. The home is a place that, the government can't control. So therefore you can only have 10 people at your house, 15 people at your house, 30 people at your house, whatever the caps were. At the same time, we were seeing, 15,000, 20,000, 80,000 people, whatever it is at the sporting games, particularly at the AFL in Victoria. And the government always said, yes, we can have these events because the health advice says that these events are more controlled. We have the QR code system, so it means that there's less risk of there being a significant event at one of these events that would plunge us into a lockdown. But as it turns out, what's happening right now is, and again, I want to make it very clear that I'm not against sports or these sporting events and life going back to normal. But what's happening right now is, it looks like we've had super spreader sporting events, whether it's at the actual stadium itself, people gathering in pubs or in outdoor settings to watch these sports. This is where the virus has seeded and spread from, according to their own information and exposure sites that they're providing. Not from homes, not from your private gatherings, all from things that they told us would be the most least likely place that this kind of spread could happen from. And even if it did happen, the fact that we're doing QR codes, the fact that we're doing all these necessary steps, the AFL's putting all these safety procedures would somehow protect us. But it looks like that is not the case, right? This can happen from any place. So there's no difference between having people over at your house or having thousands and thousands of people at the MCG, besides the fact that it's probably more dangerous, according to what's happening right now, to have thousands and thousands of strangers gathering together in sporting stadiums to watch a sporting game. It's actually safer to let families get together in this particular scenario. But they don't want to admit that. They want to make this all about you. See, you're a social bunch. This is the sporting capital, so we have no choice but to allow these things while we disallow families to mourn their dead, while we disallow families to gather to celebrate special occasions. Those things are not good. They can spread the virus and become super spreader events. But the things that we sanction, well, even that's kind of like your fault. And, we're not really going to call it what it is, which is a super spreader event. We're just going to try to ignore that whole thing ever happened. Now, the second tweet that I read from him, where he talks about, what does he say? And he says, "and at watch parties over the last week or so." So that's hilarious, because if you've been following Daniel's tweets, and probably many of you aren't, a couple of days ago when the Euro finals happened and Italy figured out that it was, good at kicking a ball around an oval, and everyone celebrated on Lygon Street in Carlton. Great scenes, right? People living life. And, Daniel had to chime in. He tweeted then as well. He shared an image of, let me actually find the tweet. 1 second. He said, This is Daniel's tweet from the 12th of July, so not that long ago. This morning, hundreds of Azzurri fans watched the Euro final on Lygon Street from a projector balanced on an esky on top of a table. I thought we could light up something else tonight to celebrate their win. Forza Italia. And then he proceeds to share an image of the old exhibition building, looks like in Carlton Gardens, lit up in the colours of the Italian flag. A couple of funny things about this tweet. It's pretty sad that we have the Premier celebrating the fact that people were left with no choice but to balance a projector on an esky on top of a table. I mean, that's kind of what our state's come to. They could have set something up for these people to enjoy the game, right? But instead, our Premier is celebrating the fact that people had to come up with their own ad hoc solution to enjoy something in a public square. It's weird. And the other thing with this is, that day, those scenes from Lygon Street, as wonderful it was to see, those people were in breach of public gathering limits in their hundreds and looked like thousands, right? Now, if it had been people protesting against the government, if it had been, anti-vax protesters as portrayed by the media, Daniel Andrews would have come out and said, I'm disgusted to see those scenes. Those scenes are disgusting. These people disgust me. But no, here he sees an opportunity to maybe, solicit some votes from Italians. It looks like that's what he's trying to do. So he sees no breaches, he sees no problems, and he thinks it's a great and amazing thing. He could have just celebrated the fact that Italy won and congratulated the thing, but no, he had to make note of this actual people getting together in a public square and watching, where they were clearly in breach of these, rules that they have put in place. That if anyone else had done that, that was against the government, for instance, there would have been massive problems. So it looks like Daniel Andrews promoted super spreading events during a global pandemic. What a bloody idiot, right? But yeah, see what's happened here? Now he's trying to switch it all onto us, that we enjoy sport, that all this was done for us. And quite frankly, if I had to choose between families being able to live their lives at home and having funerals where everyone in their family can come and, all the loved ones can get together, and a game at the MCG, I would pick the families. I would be willing to sacrifice sport over a longer period of time if that meant families and, everyday people like you and I can do the things that we can never do again, that we can never recreate. See, a sporting game, you can have that, a few months down the track. If you miss your grandmother's funeral or, your grandfather's funeral or someone in your family, it doesn't matter. I'm just making an example here. If you miss one of these events, you cannot recreate that. That's a moment gone. Sport is not like that. But yeah, those are the tweets. Pay attention. I'd be surprised if they start calling these sporting events that have plunged our state into lockdown and what looks like an extended lockdown will be classified as super spreading events. And if these AFL teams and, the AFL admin, these groups will be, held to account for their failures. Because anyone else, they would have tried to find some way to hold them responsible. But apparently this is just because we're a social bunch and the sporting capital of the world. Mind you that the Grand Prix is gone this year. All the other sports are kind of on edge, whether we'll have them or not. So I don't know what the hell this guy's talking about. Anyway, guys, see you all next time.